Welcome back to another video, and another true crime case. Today I am covering the brutal and sick murder of 18-year-old Luke Harwood, who was wrongly accused of rape. He was attacked and murdered by his new housemates within 24 hours of moving in. Although 4 people have been convicted for the crime, the media seem fixated on just one of them, simply because she is a woman and looks so young. They commonly refer to the case as the baby face killer. Just to warn you, the details of this case are quite gruesome and disturbing. If you like true crime cases and haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel, as I upload stories like this twice per week. Now on to the case. Luke Harwood, who was 18 at the time of his murder, lived in Romford, Essex, and was one of a family of 6 children. He was father to an 8-year-old son, and his girlfriend was pregnant with their second child, but sadly he would never get to meet his new daughter. He had been living with his son and his girlfriend, but in the weeks before his murder, they had been arguing quite a lot, and it became quite a toxic environment. They split up, and Luke decided that it would be best if he moved out, and so he contacted the local council and asked to be rehoused. 2 years prior, in May 2010, a 16-year-old girl named Alice Hall accused Luke of rape, and a full police investigation was carried out. She was examined and there was no evidence at all of any rape taking place. She then retracted her statement and told him it didn't happen, resulting in Luke being cleared without any charges. The council had found Luke a new home on Crow Lane in Romford, which was a house divided into 7 bedsits, and on May 27, 2012 he moved in. He was excited, and welcomed the escape from continuous arguments from his ex, but he would be there less than 24 hours before he was killed. When Luke moved in, the other bedsits were occupied by tenants, and these were Tony O'Toole, aged 30, his girlfriend Emma Hall, 21, James Danby, 27, Khalid Hassan, 20, Jovan Roberts, 28 and Billy Duggan, 22. Alice Hall, who had accused Luke of rape, was in fact Emma Hall's sister, and she had come to stay with Emma for a few days. Later that evening she was sat in Emma's room with the door open, along with James and Tony, when Luke walked past the door. Alice recognized him and told the group that he is the one that had raped her 2 years ago, but he got away with it. Emma already knew about the allegation, but she did not know that Luke was the accused. She became angry, stating, "I will effing kill him," along with other expletives which I'm not going to repeat because people find the word very offensive. James left the room and had managed to capture a photograph of Luke on his mobile phone, then returned and showed it to Alice to confirm it was definitely the right man. When she confirmed it was, Emma flew into a fit of rage and stormed into Luke's room, where she started shouting at him, then began punching him in the face. James then entered the room and dragged Emma off Luke. He was followed by Tony and Jovan, and all 4 of them began taking turns to punch and kick Luke. James later stated that he had punched Luke so hard that he thought he had broken his knuckles. Emma then started egging him on to beat Luke up even more, and telling them to kill him. Emma was described as being the vigilante stirring the situation. She joined in with the attack, and she laughed the whole way through it. Luke was subjected to a brutal 2-hour-long attack, during which the 4 of them were kicking and punching him so severely that his face was so swollen, it was likened to the Elephant Man. The attack was so bad that they had managed to get blood all over the walls in Luke's room and also in the shower room. Luke was very slightly built, at 5'7", weighing only 7 stone, and was no match for any of them, let alone a group attack. He was completely at their mercy, his body became even more weakened by the attack, and did not have the strength to fight back. At one point James dragged Luke in front of Alice and asked, "Are you sure it's him?" To which she replied, "Yes," and then continued to beat him. After that, a severely injured Luke was bundled into the back seat of Emma's car, by James and Tony. James told her to drive to Epping Forest, but later changed his mind, and diverted him to a stream near playing fields in Woodford Green in Redbridge. Throughout the journey, the torturous attack continued on Luke. James continually elbowed him in the face, whilst holding a knife to his throat and telling him he was going to slit his throat. When they arrived at the playing fields, Emma allegedly waited in the car whilst Tony and James dragged Luke out of the car and then down a lane to the stream, disappearing out of view of Emma. The 2 men then continued their brutal attack on Luke. James was said to have found a pole that had been dumped and began hitting him with it. He decided this wasn't doing enough damage, so he began strangling Luke, but he tried to fight back. James pushed Luke to the ground, and then started stamping on his head until it exploded, and he was dead. Tony walked away and then vomited in the bushes, and Luke's body was left on a grass verge. When James and Tony returned to the car, covered in blood, James said to Emma, "I've finished him," treacle, telling her he had stamped on Luke's head 20 times. Emma then drove them back to their home, where they changed out of the blood-stained clothing, and collected all of Luke's belongings from his room. The three of them, taking Billy Duggan with them, got back into Emma's car and stopped at a petrol station to fill up a can of petrol. They continued the journey to a secluded location in South Weald, Essex, where they poured the petrol on their clothing and Luke's belongings, and set fire to them, in an attempt to eliminate evidence of their crime. When they had finished, James insisted that Emma drove back to the crime scene so he could show her and Billy what he had done to Luke's body. He pointed at the pool of blood and told her, "That's where I finished him off," and said his head was like a marshmallow. He then rolled Luke's body into the stream, and covered it with a mattress and other items of rubbish they had found dumped. They returned to their home and began scrubbing Luke's room to remove the blood from the walls and floors. Realizing that Luke's body would be discovered at some point, and would be able to be identified, James decided that they needed to return to Luke's body the following evening, under the cover of darkness. They would take with them 3 kitchen knives and bolt cutters, with the intention of mutilating Luke's body beyond the point of recognition. Even though Luke's face was badly swollen and disfigured, James decided this wasn't enough. He was going to cut his face with the knives so that Luke couldn't be identified from facial features. Then they would chop off his fingers and pull out all of his teeth so he couldn't be identified by any of those methods either. They had also roped Khalid Hassan and Billy Duggan into helping him, but thankfully they didn't get the chance. They were going to do it on the evening of the 29th of May 2012, however, in an attempt to distance herself from the crime, Emma contacted the police from a phone box. She told him she wanted to report a dead body, and that she had witnessed Tony and James killing Luke. She then hung up and returned home. A while later, she returned to the phone box and told police exactly where Luke's body was, and that they were going back to mutilate his body later that evening. She told him that they would be arriving at the location in the next 20 minutes. When they arrived, the police were waiting for them and arrested all 5 of them. These were Emma Hall, Tony O'Toole, James Danby, Jovan Roberts and Billy Duggan. Khalid Hassan was later arrested at his home for helping to clean up the blood and not reporting the attack. They were all taken to the police station for questioning, and blamed each other. Police asked Emma and the other 3 men why they were returning to Luke's body, and they all said that James had threatened them, and they feared if they didn't help him, they would be killed next. When asked why she had decided to report them, Emma said that she couldn't stand the level of violence they planned anymore, and in an attempt to save her boyfriend Tony, she told him that James was the only person that had committed the murder. She also denied instigating the attack on Luke by punching him in the face, and then encouraging the others to kill him. When they went to the home to arrest Khalid Hassan, they found that Alice was still there, and was in a terrified and distraught state. She was very upset at what had happened, and blamed herself because she had been the one that told him about Luke. She told police everything that had happened, and they were able to take a full statement from her. In the statement, Alice said that it was Emma that started the attack, and that she had assaulted Luke several times. She also confirmed that Emma said she was going to kill him, but since she did not go with them in the car, she did not know which of them actually killed him. She also said that when the 3 of them arrived home, they were laughing and joking about the murder. Emma's web of lies continued, telling police that James had threatened to kill her if she did not drive them to Epping Forest, and then to Woodford Green. She said that when she looked in her rear-view mirror she could see that Luke's face was swollen, but she did not see any blood, despite the fact Luke's blood was found in her car, and she knew that his room was covered in blood. She had even helped to clean it up when they returned. She also said that she did not know that James and Tony were going to kill Luke, and thought they were just going to dump him somewhere. She also added that she waited in the car for 15 minutes before James and Tony returned, and had no part in the murder at all. James was well known to police, but had only been convicted of minor offenses. He was convicted of robbery when he was caught going through the belongings of a sleeping man on a bus, and had attacked him when the man woke up. Police discovered that James was reported to be bragging about the grisly details of the murder to friends the next day. He allegedly told his sister that murder had promoted him to the A-team of crime, and told his mother that he had killed Luke, and asked her if he should cut off his fingers and scatter them. He denied this, and told police that it was Tony that had killed Luke, and that he had only stamped on Luke's head. He denied elbowing Luke and holding a knife to his throat on the journey to the playing fields. He was later described by police as a psychopath. All of the suspects reported that Emma had been the one that instigated the attack, and that she watched and egged him on, and cackled throughout the assault as well as being part of it. It was clear that she was the leader of the group. Tony told the police that James tried to strangle Luke by putting him in a sleeper hold before stamping on his head. He said that he was not involved in the attack at the playing fields, and that he was so shocked with the violence from James, that he had vomited in a bush. He said, "It's something a monster would do." Billy Duggan told police that James also said he was going to cut Luke's head off when they returned to the scene the following day. All evidence pointed to James, Tony, Emma and Jovan, and the police could not be sure exactly which one of them had committed the killing. They were questioned for 2 days, resulting in all 6 of them being charged by police. Police did not believe Emma Hall's Little Miss Innocent routine, and she was charged with murder, GBH with intent, perverting the course of justice and conspiracy to destroying evidence. James Danby as the ringleader, was charged with murder, GBH with intent, conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, and destroying evidence. Tony O'Toole, who was the only other person present when Luke was killed, and it was his word against James's, was charged with murder, GBH with intent, and conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, by destroying evidence. Jovan Roberts was charged with murder and GBH with intent for attacking Luke in his room. Billy Duggan was not involved in the attack, but since he went to the crime scene to see what James had done to Luke's body, and also returned to help mutilate Luke's body, he was charged with perverting the course of justice and conspiracy. Although Khalid Hassan had nothing to do with the attack or the murder, he was charged with perverting the course of justice, because he had gone with the others to mutilate Luke's body, and he did not report it to police. They were remanded in custody awaiting trial. On the 7th of January 2013, the trial took place at the Old Bailey in London. Luke's family and friends were so upset and incensed by his death, that it took a team of police officers from the Territorial Support Group, to keep them apart from the supporters of the defendants that were also in court. The court heard evidence from several witnesses, and even Alice Hall gave evidence against her sister Emma. She told the court that Emma had said that she was going to kill Luke, and that she had been the one who started the attack, and had to be dragged off Luke. She then recalled her seeing Luke with a broken nose and covered in blood, and said it was awful. After the attack she asked Emma if she was okay, and Emma said, "It's okay, I'm a hard bitch." The court also heard that James was a very dangerous man who was known for violence and aggression, and that he was simply looking for an excuse to kill anyone he could. Luke's family had to sit through the graphic descriptions of the violence that he had suffered on that night, which would be enough to break anyone. They will remember this for the rest of their lives. During the trial, Luke's sister had given birth to a new son, whom she named Luke in his memory. The jury spent 10 days deliberating, and on the 17th of April 2013 they returned the following verdicts. Emma was found guilty of murder, GBH and perverting the course of justice. James was found guilty of murder, GBH with intent, perverting the course of justice and conspiracy. Tony was found guilty of murder, perverting the course of justice and conspiracy. Billy was found guilty of perverting the course of justice and conspiracy. Jovan and Khalid Hassan were found not guilty, and walked free from court. After the case, Luke's family said, "He should still be alive to share his life with us and to be a father to his son, as well as his daughter whom he never met. He was falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit and killed in the most violent way. His murderers took away his life for no reason, leaving his family with no chance to say goodbye." On April 23, 2013, the convicted returned to court for sentencing. For murder, James Danby was sentenced to life, with a minimum of 25 years. The judge remarked that he was a controlling, manipulative and dangerous individual who had shown no signs of remorse. Tony O'Toole was sentenced to life with a minimum of 17 years. Emma Hall was sentenced to life with a minimum of 15 years. Billy Duggan was found guilty of perverting the course of justice and conspiracy, for which he was given a 2-year sentence that was suspended for 2 years. This meant that he did not go to prison. If he committed any other crime during this period, he would go straight to prison. Luke's family was seen outside the court celebrating the sentences by popping open the champagne. It would never bring Luke back, but justice had at least been served in one way. The Attorney General Dominic Grieve believed that Emma Hall had received an incredibly lenient sentence of a minimum of 15 years, and following an appeal at the Court of Appeal, this was increased to 17 years. He also believed that Billy Duggan's sentence of 2 years suspended was unfair, but the judges disagreed, and the sentence remained. James Danby and Tony O'Toole appealed their sentences, but these were flatly rejected. During my research, I came across an article that is related to the case. Following Luke's death, the family moved to a different area to make it easier for his brothers and sisters to cope. On June 24, 2013, just a few weeks after the sentencing, police attended East Brick School in Dagenham to give a presentation warning about how young people can become victims of crime. The first slide was a photograph of Luke Harwood. Luke's 15-year-old brother and sister were sat watching the presentation and were devastated. The school apologized immediately, but the family were waiting 6 months for an apology from the police. In their response, they blamed the school staff for the situation, stating that school staff had looked through and approved the presentation prior to it being shown. This is such a sad case in which a teenager was tortured and murdered by people acting like a pack of animals, for a crime he did not commit. Now his 2 young children have to live without their father. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you like true crime stories, please subscribe to my channel. And hit the notification bell to be notified each time I upload new content.